You finally retire with $800K, maybe $1.2 million, maybe more. After 35 years of grinding, you throw the party, post the Facebook update, and within weeks, everyone wants a piece of your money. Nephew's business idea, neighbor's loan, brother-in-law's Cancun timeshare.
Meanwhile, the upgrades that actually determine whether your retirement lasts or whether you're back at work in 4 years get ignored. And that's the trap. The math is simple, but most retirees burn through compounding before they even realize it. Here is the exact order of operations you need to follow instead. My name is Lewis, and I spend way too much time thinking about retirement planning, wealth preservation, and the psychology of why people sabotage their own financial future right when they should be enjoying it. If you're someone who's approaching retirement or already there, and you're trying to figure out how to actually make your money last without living like you're broke, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Today, we're talking about 10 things you need to quietly upgrade the moment you retire, before you tell a single soul. Number 1, and this is the one that catches people completely off guard, your health insurance. Here's the thing, if you retire before 65, you don't have Medicare yet, and most people massively underestimate what that gap costs. According to Fidelity's retiree healthcare cost estimate, the average 65-year-old couple retiring will need approximately $315,000 just for healthcare expenses throughout retirement. That's not a typo. $315,000. And if you retire at 60, you've got 5 years of bridging that gap with COBRA or marketplace plans that can run $1,500 to $2,200 a month for a couple. So before you announce anything, sit down, get your health coverage locked in, understand exactly what it costs, and budget accordingly. This is not optional. This is survival. Number 2, your housing. Now, you might be thinking, Luis, I paid off my house. I'm good. And look, congratulations. That's huge. But here's what most people don't realize. A paid-off house still costs you $8,000 to $15,000 a year in property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and utilities, depending on where you live. If you're sitting in a 4-bedroom house and it's just you and your spouse, you're hemorrhaging money on space you don't use. Quietly downsize, or at least restructure. That could mean selling and moving to a state with no income tax. Maybe it means a smaller home where your monthly carrying costs drop by $1,200 a month. Over 20 years of retirement? That's $288,000. That's not a small number. That's a lifestyle-changing number. Number 3, and this one's going to sound counterintuitive. Upgrade your car. I don't mean buy a BMW. I mean stop driving that 2009 sedan that's costing you $4,000 a year in repairs. Get yourself a reliable, certified pre-owned vehicle, something 2 or 3 years old, low mileage with a warranty. The psychology here matters. When you're retired and your car breaks down on a Tuesday morning, you don't have a company to call. You don't have coworkers to give you a ride. You need reliable transportation, and you need it handled before anyone knows you've retired. Because the moment people know, suddenly every car salesman in your zip code is your best friend. Number 4, this is where it gets really interesting. Your investment allocation. When you were working, maybe you had 80% in stocks and 20% in bonds. Fine, that worked. But retirement changes the math completely. A study published by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that retirees who experienced a major market downturn in their first 2 years of retirement had dramatically worse outcomes over 30 years compared to those who didn't,
even when the average returns were identical. It's called sequence of returns risk, and it's a silent killer. Before you tell anyone you've retired, sit down with a fiduciary, not your cousin who sells insurance, a fiduciary financial advisor, and restructure your portfolio. You want 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or near cash equivalents, so that if the market drops 30% in your first year, you're not selling stocks at a loss to pay your electric bill. Run the numbers. If you need $5,000 a month beyond Social Security, that's $60,000 a year. Meaning, you want $120,000 to $180,000 sitting somewhere safe and boring. Do this quietly. Do it first. Number 5, your estate documents. I know, this isn't glamorous. Nobody wants to think about wills and trusts when they have just stopped working. But here's the reality. The moment people know you've retired, they start making assumptions about your money. And if something happens to you without proper documents in place, those assumptions turn into legal battles. Get your will updated. Get your power of attorney in order. Set up a trust if your estate warrants it. The average cost of probate in the United States can eat up 3 to 7% of your estate's value. On $1 million estate, that's $30,000 to $70,000 that goes to lawyers instead of your family. Upgrade this before anyone even knows you've stopped working. Number 6, and this is purely psychological. Upgrade your social circle. Look, I don't mean dump your friends, but here's a hard truth. Research from the Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies on human happiness, found that the quality of your relationships is the single strongest predictor of health and happiness in retirement. Not money. Relationships. When you retire, you lose the built-in social structure of work. If you don't proactively replace that with meaningful connections, a hobby group, a volunteer organization, a fitness community, isolation creeps in fast. And isolated retirees spend more impulsively because spending becomes a substitute for connection. I've seen it over and over. Someone retires, gets lonely, and suddenly they're buying things they don't need just to feel something. Build your social infrastructure quietly before the retirement announcements go out. Number 7, your tax strategy. Now, you might be thinking, I'm retired. I'm in a lower tax bracket. Taxes aren't my problem anymore. And that is one of the most expensive assumptions in all of personal finance. Here's what most people don't realize. If you have a large traditional 401k or IRA, when you start taking required minimum distributions at 73, those distributions are taxed as ordinary income. And if you haven't planned for it, those RMDs can push you into a higher bracket, increase your Medicare premiums through IRMA surcharges, and even make up to 85% of your Social Security taxable. The smart move? In those early retirement years before RMDs kick in, consider Roth conversions. Convert portions of your traditional IRA to a Roth. Pay the taxes now while you're in a lower bracket, and let that money grow tax-free forever. Let's say you convert $50,000 a year for 5 years. You pay taxes on it now at maybe 12% to 22%. But in 10 years, when your RMDs would have pushed you into the 32% bracket, that money is sitting in a Roth, completely untouchable by the IRS. That's the kind of move you make in silence. Number 8, your daily routine. This sounds simple, but the data is startling. A study from the Institute of Economic Affairs found that retirement increases the probability of clinical depression by about 40%. 40%. And the number one factor? Loss of structure. When you worked, your day had a rhythm. You woke up at a certain time. You had places to be, things to accomplish. Retirement
strips that away overnight. Before you tell anyone, build a new routine. Morning exercise, a project, a part-time passion pursuit, whatever it is. Structure your days so that when people ask, "So, what do you do all day?" you have an answer that excites you.
This isn't about keeping busy for the sake of it. This is about giving your brain a reason to stay sharp and your bank account a reason to stay intact. Because bored retirees are expensive retirees.
Number 9, eliminate your remaining debt. All of it. Here's the thing. Carrying a $400 monthly car payment into retirement means you need an additional $4,800 a year from your portfolio just to service that one debt. Using the 4% withdrawal rule, that means you need $120,000 more in your retirement fund just to cover that one payment. $120,000 of your nest egg dedicated to a depreciating asset. If you have credit card debt, personal loans, anything, clear it before you make a single retirement announcement. Because here's the psychological trap. Once people know you're retired, the pressure to maintain appearances increases. You feel like you can't downgrade. You feel like you need to keep spending at a certain level. And if you're servicing debt on top of that, the math falls apart fast. And number 10, set up at least one additional income stream. I'm not talking about going back to work. I'm talking about something that generates $500 to $2,000 a month with minimal effort. Maybe it's dividend income from a portfolio you've been building. Maybe it's rental income from a property. Maybe it's part-time consulting in your field for 10 hours a week. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that roughly 20% of Americans age 65 and older are now working in some capacity, and the ones doing it by choice rather than necessity report significantly higher life satisfaction. Even a modest $1,000 per month means $12,000 a year that you don't have to pull from your retirement accounts. Over 20 years, with that money still compounding, that single income stream could preserve $350,000 or more in your portfolio. When people find out you're retired and you already have income flowing in, you're operating from a position of strength, not vulnerability. Here's the bottom line. Retirement isn't an announcement. It's a transition. And the people who do it well are the ones who spend the first 60 to 90 days getting their house in order, literally and figuratively, before they broadcast it to the world. Because once you tell people, the dynamic changes. Expectations shift. Requests come in. And if you haven't upgraded the things that actually matter, you'll spend the next 5 years reacting instead of living. Do this right, and you don't just retire. You retire with power, with clarity, and with a financial foundation that makes the next 20 or 30 years the best of your entire life. If this helped you, share it with someone close to retirement. They'll thank you. Hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Drop a comment below telling me which of these 10 things you're upgrading first, and I'll see you in the next one.